And welcome to Earth Converse podcast, where we explore our relationship and conversations with the earth, all in the hope of inspiring a deeper connection with ourselves, each other, and the earth that is our home. Very pleased to have Diana Bacanu here. And I met Diana and Xavier. They hosted the Living and Dying course with Meredith Little. And really, Diana's, and it has got this incredible ability. She's a multilingual. So here she was at this, in this beautiful process of just such serenity and grace and wisdom. And here she is translating, sort of having three different linguistic conversations of such a deep and personal experience. And she held everybody's story so beautifully. And today she's here and she's going to tell her story. And over to you, Diana, and you're here in this beautiful land. Tell us about where you are and where you're, you know, what you're sitting in the middle of, literally and figuratively. Wow.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much, Penelope. And such a pleasure and an honor to be here. I think the space you're holding, offering about having meaningful conversations about our connection with the earth is so precious in our days. So thank you for that, and really honored to be here. Indeed, I'm in this very beautiful place in the heart of the mountains of Catalonia. It's a retreat center where we live right now. We welcome people on individual retreats, and also we offer our workshops and retreats of connecting with nature, connecting with self and others. And we do feel really privileged to be here because this place has a very special energy, very wild, and in the same time a very peaceful, calm energy. And yeah, it feels really the right place to be right now in in our life, myself and Xavi. Yeah,
I love that, sort of the wild and the peace and holding that paradox, and that's, you know, the different side of it all.
Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, so I mean, you've got a story right now what you're holding, but we'll come back to that, sort of we'll circle around to that. Yeah. So yeah, tell us about, I mean, I don't know, in terms of your earliest memories and how you've deepened your connection with nature in your story.
Yeah, well, I actually come from Romania. I was born in Romania, in Transylvania, which is really a very wild nature place with lots of bears and wolves and forests where, you know, they are really still very wild. And I was born there under the communism dictatorship. So we had a very simple life with not many things really, you know. And as a child, so I didn't have all those plastic toys or things to just get, you know, distracted and be inside. So really the playground was nature. And I remember my mother still tells me right now that I was really trying to do my homework super fast. It seemed that I was very efficient in just getting the homework done from school so that I can go outside and spend as much time as possible, you know, just playing with my friends outside. And to me, yeah, I really hold very special memories about those times when I was just one, you know, with nature and exploring, discovering everything and learning from nature. Like it was really my teacher and my playground. So many memories from that time, really beautiful exploration of senses and being like almost an animal, you know, on this earth, and playing. I remember it was really giving me a lot of joy and yeah, sense of awe and beauty, and just like no worries, you know, like just being happy on this earth. And it was a privilege to be in that place because as I said, nature was very wild. My parents really loved nature, and we would go to walk a lot, and in winter we would ski in high on the, you know, on the top of the mountain. And I remember that we were very connected to the cycles of nature, and In Romania, you know, the four seasons are still very marked. So in winter, it was very cold, maybe minus 22 degrees, and snow. So I remember like playing as a child and the snow just touching my face. And then in autumn, it was like lots of colors in the forest. So I just have these memories of a lot of beauty and very, very specific landscapes that were changing a lot according to the seasons. So yeah, a lot of really beautiful images that are in my mind. You know, I have a quite bad memory in general, but I have a lot of images that are kind of really plugged in my memory of nature and of landscapes of my childhood.
And it sounds like it's incredibly free, I suppose, in terms of, did you feel that paradox of like, there's a dictatorship and the communism and the rigidity of that, and then this incomplete sort of the freedom. Did you feel the dictatorship? Or?
I was not really aware, you know, so like for me, it was total freedom, no rules, just playing, and absolutely no sense of, yeah, it was really freedom, yeah.
Yeah, the myths and legends. Did you have, you know, in terms of that Transalquimia?
Yeah, there's a lot of mythology, and actually in a lot of our legends and myths, nature is really like part of it. And yeah, I feel it's part of my roots, of my ancestors, of the culture that I've grown up in. And to me, the communism also, like to your question, also brought me, it was a real school of learning to be happy with very little things. So even food was rationalized, like we everything was very limited, you know, in terms of material um, things that were available to us. So then, you know, you had to just live a simple life. And for me, it was a very good school of finding happiness in the little ordinary things, in simple things. And it's something that I feel is quite precious, and that we tend to, you know, that we kind of lose in our society today. So to me, yeah, having experienced that, it feels very precious, like something, an important remembering there for me.
And I suppose you didn't know any different.
Yeah, it was interesting because then, you know, as a student, I went abroad to France to study. And this is where, without really being aware, I started to disconnect little by little from nature. I was in Paris, like this big city. And as a student, it was all great. I really loved it. But I didn't realize that I actually lost connection, you know, my daily connection to nature. And then I started working, and then, you know, starting to have a career and this busy life. And both in Paris and then in Barcelona, when I moved for work, you know, I really became quite separate from nature. I lost that in my daily life, and I didn't realize to which extent it was something that was really essential, something missing, you know, something essential was missing in my life. And somehow I was wanting and looking for moments where I could reconnect to nature, but it became something that was more in holidays or in weekends. But like majority, you know, of my life was in the city, with noise, with pollution, with the busyness of life. And then each time I had some holidays from work, I would go in nature, but it became something like really isolated and not part of my daily ordinary life.
And I'm sure a lot of people recognize that themselves, you know? Yes, that pattern.
Yeah.
As was it also, and I'm making an assumption, it's also because of, I mean, the freeing of the communism, and then wanting to get not even disconnecting from nature. Was it disconnecting from that system?
Of Romania, you know, our parents could not, the frontiers were closed. So there was this dream that, wow, you know, the capitalist world, and there's these opportunities. And so most of the people in my generation really wanted to go out and explore the world, and get a career. And then, you know, you get into that, And for some time you kind of, you know, it's maybe something you follow, and a motivation, and getting a good job, and you know, and then you get really trapped into it. It's like, yeah, there was something about a dream that one would want to follow and explore a different reality, but then you discover the other side of the dream, right? So yeah, I really, I had, it was a beautiful journey for me, because it was very interesting. I learned a lot. You know, I worked during 17 years in the corporate world, in big corporations, in really exciting jobs, in, you know, getting more and more responsibility, and having leadership roles, and having teams. So it was a great learning experience. And in the same time, I was more and more disconnected, really, to maybe my true calling, to my purpose, you know. And I didn't realize that at the beginning. It, you know, it was subtle. It was very subtle. And I remember that moment when, you know, I was in this meeting. I had a very busy life, and traveling a lot, and lots of meetings and emails. You know, you kind of feel like an important person. And then,
what was your important role?
well, I had different leadership roles. I was working in human resources, you know, and I got, I was human resources director for, you know, European level and then global level. So I had this kind of international roles, and yeah, it felt like really exciting. But then I remember I was in this meeting one day, and you know, our boss came, and he said, well, we have this new project, strategic project, that for the same, now it's confidential, but basically we are going to have to close 3 manufacturing sites in high cost countries. So there was Spain, France, and Italy. And then we have to open 2 manufacturing plants in India and China because it's cheaper. And there was this whole strategic plan, and we are going as a team to work on it and to make it happen. And as a human resources, I was, you know, part of the execution process, and it just felt like, you know, this is, I will have to do something that has nothing to do with human, really, you know, like, and I felt this sense of emptiness in that moment. I remember I was listening to those words that were around me, and they just felt empty. There was no meaning. There was absolutely no meaning. And I was thinking, what am I doing here? Like, what, who am I serving? You know, where am I putting my energy? What's the meaning of this? And I just felt like such a big emptiness, you know, like, wow, you know, where am I right now in my life, and what am I doing here? And it was a very strong moment, not very comfortable, you know, not very easy to be in that place. And in the same time, it was like really a strong wake up call. Like, okay, you know, I think there's more to life than than this. It's been a good journey, but I no longer feel in my at my place, you know, here. And this was the trigger for a big journey of, you know, inner transition and transformation that brought me where you see where you see me right now. Yeah, in a very different world, parallel universe almost.
Sliding doors. So, and then just to sort of work backwards, were that, so you had the little stirrings before that big moment? Can you notice in sort of, you know, it's the old, you can only understand life backwards, but you have to live it forwards. But within, in hindsight, sort of the stirrings before that moment?
Yeah, to me, maybe the alert signs were more related to my body and to my physical, emotional state. You know, I was feeling very tired and exhausted. I had this feeling that I'm running all the time, that life is so accelerated, that I didn't have really time, you know, to just breathe and be and enjoy. I could feel that my joy was really not so present. I was not laughing so much anymore. You know, it was just, I became so serious and responsible person, and there was no space for just being and enjoying life and being with friends, with family. So that space was getting reduced, more and more reduced, and my body was really feeling tired, you know, and exhausted,
Yeah,
and lack of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like waking up in the morning and feeling tired already when you wake up, or going to sleep and your mind is so busy still thinking about the meeting of what I have to do. So the busyness of the mind, not being able to find peace, So there was a lot of little
Mm,
signs.
mm.
Mm,
But you
yeah.
keep going. It was sort of like
Yeah.
just keep
You
going.
are on the motorway, you just go. You are also a good, and in the communist culture we had, like you learn to be a good soldier, to do what, to do things, to execute, to be. So yeah, and you want to be a good person, even you get into this role of something is asked from you in the corporate world, something is expected, and you want to deliver, you want to prove, you get into this young competitive environment where you want to prove yourself, so you're going to do more and more just to show up and to. So you get into that game and you take it seriously.
Sure, and also sort of I can imagine because of communist era, it's sort of like a cultural obligation or country obligation to to take advantage of this opportunity, this freedom, and this global impact that you can have, and this young person who's really making a go of it. I can imagine, and I'm lucky to be here, or I'm lucky to be sitting in this with this important decision, or
yeah, absolutely.
so from there, I mean, it wasn't an automatic transition to the woods behind you. So what were the sort of the phases? Because I think it's really important to sort of respect that timing and transition, and that's interesting, isn't it? What we do with things.
Yeah, it is a choice. Some people decide to really like jump into the unknown and make really a very strong cut with that world to get to the next. And I felt like for me what felt the right thing to do is to grow progressively, step by step. So transition maybe with that was more organic, and at a pace that felt right for me. So I kind of started to have these two Dianas, so part of me was still delivering at work. And then another part of me was starting to really explore, so to do retreats and workshops and start to explore other ways of being in service. So I remember that there was this deep ecology workshop that I did, when it was also a wake-up call for me of the situation of the earth, the destruction of life on earth. And I felt like, wow, this is really, there's a sense of urgency there. I want to be part of a change. So I want to dedicate time, energy for this. So it really became very clear to me that I wanted to be in service of, of healing and a shift really in our relation with the earth. And then there was the Vision Quest experience, my first Vision Quest experience, where I remember really taking a commitment, a strong commitment to a new path in my life, to being in service. I didn't know exactly how it would look like, but I remember in that first Vision Quest, I really planted the seed of change, and something became non-negotiable there. Like, this is my path. It's gonna maybe take time, but I'm gonna, this is where I go. This is the calling of my heart, of my soul, and it becomes non-negotiable. I won't do any compromise, So that was like also a big shift. Then discovering
pause you there. Like, how did you know it was nature, or even the workshops of the deep ecology? So where was the calling to go in that direction? To search out different retreats and workshops and vision quests. Where was that? Where'd that come from? Was that a connection back to your roots, or?
Yeah, I really felt that emptiness was making me really ask, questions about what is my place here on this earth. This life that I have, that it's just passing so short. What legacy do I want to leave? What's really, I started to really question what's my purpose, how this earth can be a more beautiful place thanks to my life and my presence. What am I here to offer, to give? And that was the question, the guiding question in everything that I did. So I started to explore spaces where I could come back to myself, listen deeply, and reconnect, you know, to my roots, reconnect to nature, and find a sense of belonging again, you know. So obviously that brought me to nature, you know. It was just such a natural link of coming back home, coming back home to nature and to myself. And that opened, yeah, different paths, really, different ways of exploring those questions. Also, it brought me to mindfulness, you know, to having different mindfulness retreats in Plum Village, and also about discovering the power of community, you know, there. And yeah, the this inner transformation, you know, the importance of listening deeply into our heart, ourself, and from there going back to action. So I really took time to be in that listening phase. And then, you know, I was still kind of holding these two parts of myself. So I was still having my corporate job that gave me some kind of security, you know, financial, economical safety. And in the same time, I was transforming a lot. So my external life was looking kind of the same, but my inner world, my inner landscape was kind of really, really transforming. And at some point, it felt like, wow, these two, you know, I need to build bridges between these two. It just felt, I started to feel like so different when I was in to work, and I feel like I can't wear this kind of costume anymore, you know, like it needs to, I need to open and be who I truly am at work. And it was a point where I remember I said to myself, like Joanna Macy in one of the retreats, like she was saying, there are so many ways of being part of a change. And one is to really step out of the system and build an alternative, you know, way. But one way of acting is from within. So be in the system and change from within. And that inspired me to say, like, okay, is there something I can still do in the corporate world before I jump outside? And I thought I wanted to give myself a chance to do that, to just see maybe change is possible from within. And I decided I need to find a job. Either I find a job that is really meaningful, where I feel I can really be myself and express what I want to express to this world, or I quit. So it was a time when I was in mobility. Every 3 years, more or less, you would change job. And I asked to my boss that I really wanted to find a job that was meaningful. And there were 3 different job offers that came to me of the same thing that I used to do, just more responsibility. And I said no. I had to say no 3 times to 3 different jobs. And this is where I remember my boss said, okay, I really see you want something different. Now I get it. But the, you know, like the universe is tempting you. It's like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Here's
carrot. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then this is when, you know, my boss said, okay, I understand. I feel you're looking for something different. And this is when the opportunity came to take the leadership of the well-being strategy for the company at global level. And it felt like, okay, well-being. This is something where there's connection with who I am, and with all this inner transformation I had. There's something where I feel there's a bridge and maybe things I can share or bring to the organization. And it was such a beautiful journey, you know, like 5 years that I was in this position, building the well-being strategy from scratch, you know. This is a white blank paper, and putting together like a team of volunteers. It was amazing because it's been like really a collective journey. Like we put out there like a crowdsourcing campaign, asking all people in the company what were their ideas about well-being, what were their needs, what they wanted to see in the organization to boost the well-being on a physical, mental, emotional, and social level. So we really like put like in a very holistic approach, you know. So we did this crowdsourcing across the globe of ideas. And then I remember we made a call for volunteers, like, okay, we're launching these projects. Who wants to be part of it? And it was amazing, the number of people who just said yes. You know, I feel I want to be part of this change. And like we had hundreds of volunteers that started to be part of project teams. You know, we gathered ideas, we looked at what were the main topics we wanted to bring, and we launched like a lot of teams, you know, of designing and implementing like all this new strategy.
You create
So
community.
yeah, the power of community was just amazing. And you can't even imagine the number of people in the organizations that are longing to be part of such a change and wanting to, and have so skilled, wanting to bring, you know, their ideas and be part of a change. And something where I discovered this, the beauty of community, we launched this idea of well-being labs. And we said, you know, well-being, this is a collective adventure. It's a bottom-up approach. It's not going to be something that will come from the top and will tell you what well-being means from you and what you need to do. We want to do it in a bottom-up approach. So we just launched this idea of whoever wants to be part of a well-being adventure, you can create a lab and start to experiment with an idea that you think can bring any idea that could bring well-being in your team, in your organization, right? And then like we had in 6 months, 1,000 well-being labs that were created. And people were saying, well, actually, I'm a yoga teacher. I could do some yoga classes here in our office. Or, you know, someone said, I do meditation. I can offer meditation sessions and I can support people with stress and burnout. And like all of a sudden, all these people that came out and said, there's something I have to offer, you know?
Love
And
it. It's like actually what's happened on COVID, isn't it? Like everyone's talents and or ways to reset and resource. It's just so beautiful. And organizations, the world is full of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just about creating the space where, you know, and empowering people to offer.
Yes.
Very beautiful adventure, and there was so much happened, you know, true cultural change. And I feel really happy of having allowed myself to do that last job in corporate before, you know, before jumping into a new life, a different life. It just felt like a strong reconciliation between, you know, these two sides of myself and integrating really the two worlds.
But that's a lovely for your own self and your own healing, but also allowing other people who are, you know, want to remain in the corporate world but actually feeling more integrated because of the offering. Really lovely. And 5 years, you know, that's a good chunk of time after this very powerful moment in that meeting.
Yeah.
Patience or sense of purpose that you're in it for the long term.
Yeah. And then it was a progressive, after that, it was a progressive journey because I really felt like I wanted to develop more, you know, outside of work, like spaces where I could offer deep ecology, vision quests, forest bathing, other, you know, things that were really had helped me a lot. And I wanted to offer as well them in service. And I needed time. So the first step was to negotiate with the company and say, oh, can I work part-time, you know?
Yes.
And I was so lucky. I had really a leader, a woman who was really, you know, supportive and who said, yes, I understand that, you know, this is important for you. So let's see how to make it happen. So first step was to continue in the Wellbeing project, but in a part-time job. And then at some point I felt like, oh, I need more time. So then I asked for a sabbatical year. And like, because I felt like, okay, let me try to really express this new, you know, project I wanted to get invested in. And let's see how it goes before really letting go of the corporate world. So after 1 year sabbatical, well, it was such a confirmation that yes,
Exactly.
you know, it was actually the very first month. I remember I did this 1 day walk in nature, and it was so clear, you know, it was just so obvious that like, okay, now it's time to make the step. And then I moved fully, you know, out of the corporate world, and now I'm fully dedicated, you know, as well as Chabi, my partner, both of us, to Transalquimia, to our project, and to offering retreats in nature. And also we did another important let go of the city life. This is also something that was kind of scaring me because I'm a very social person. I like to be connected with people, and I felt like, wow, living up there in the mountains, there was a fear of getting isolated. So at the beginning, during 1 year, during the sabbatical year, we would be 3 days in the city and 4 days in nature. We, you know, we rented a little room in a retreat center, and it was like, okay, let's see how we feel. There's still both, and then same. It was a confirmation. We really felt so good in nature that we said, now we just go. So now we live fully here, and new life, new project, new path.
Even during the city, did you feel it differently, or did you experience it differently, knowing that you wanted slowing down in the city?
Actually, it was not easy. Each time we would leave the mountains, you know, and you take the car and you start approaching the city, the body would feel tension. We could feel that we were driving slowly, and then as we were getting closer to the city, like there was something like to go faster. There is really, you become more sensitive of the collective energy of rushing, running, you know, acceleration. So it really requires you to be really present and centered, like to keep your own pace, to keep your center, to, you know, to be mindful, to be present, to be receptive, you know, your senses open. So it really requires, like, it's a practice, you know, and especially that your senses also get really open when you're in nature. So when you're in the city, we can really feel like the smells, the noise. There is, it becomes more intense than when, you know, than before. I feel like maybe as you drop some of the protection you have normally in the city, as here in nature you are very open and receptive. When we get into the city, it just feels like, wow, there's so many inputs, so many stimuli, and like you need to be really mindful to keep that same spirit and presence and openness, you know, to life. So
So the forces, or the systemic forces, or the energy, it reminds me of that, you know, what is it, the analogy of the frog in the water or something?
Yeah, the boiling
suddenly, and then suddenly, but just that really consciousness, which takes a lot of energy. So you detached, you know, bit by bit you detached, and now you're there. So tell us about your offerings and vision, your purpose.
Yeah, so with Transalquimia, it's really, our purpose is to offer spaces of individual and collective transformation, spaces where we can reconnect to ourselves, to each other, to community, and reconnect to nature. It's like remembering, coming back home, and offering spaces where we can deeply listen, you know, why are we here? Like the big questions, you know, why are we here? What am I here on earth? What am I here to offer? Who am I? You know, and having really this space in nature where we can really explore these meaningful questions and conversations, and reconnect really to this bigger picture and to the web of life. And it takes different forms, you know. So we continue, we offer deep ecology workshops. We offer rites of passage and vision quest retreats in Spanish, in French, in English, where people...
Amazing. I find that amazing.
Yeah, so these are more for people to really reconnect to their purpose and mark important and celebrate important transitions in their lives, give meaning to you know, the new cycles of their life. We also offer like more shorter experience, maybe forest bathing, you know, or ecotherapy, so supporting people also on an individual base, working with ceremony, with rituals in nature, and exploring questions that one might have in the mirror of nature. So that's something we offer. The living and dying practice, so learning how to die in our lives so that we can live more fully. And then mindfulness, this is also the place where we are, is a very special place because it really belongs to a Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist foundation. And in this retreat center, actually during 8 years, Buddhist monks lived here. in silent retreat, meditating hours and hours a day. So this place is a very special energy of, you know, inner peace, coming back to oneself. And we really feel it, like the energy of the place has been so much, you know, taken care of in the past years. So we continue to welcome people here who just want to come back to themselves and to practice meditation and to be in contact with nature and with themselves. So yeah, people can also come just on individual basis, but also on group retreats. So we also offer mindfulness retreats, and yeah, more or less, this is the offer that we have.
I'll definitely, you know, put a link in on the episode. What are you noticing about, you know, the clientele, the participants? What are you noticing, where they're from and what they're, you know, getting out of it, and, you know, in market transitions? What are you noticing?
Well, there's a big variety, so it's quite diverse. However, maybe there is something in common, something universal. People who come here are in a quest for more meaning in their life, longing for nature connection, and looking for a space of silence, of stillness, of coming back to oneself and listening. And yeah, so there is a quest, there is an inner transition. And most of the people who come here are in a process of change, of important transformation. And it feels like, you know, we take care of the place. We also cook good food. We take care of the garden. We know we plant. So there is also something we connect a lot with, about how do you take care of a place and of the food, like of the little ordinary things, so that one person can come and really feel held and feel like, oh, I have the right conditions to just to drop into this space of stillness, of peace, of silence, and just open. There's something that really opens, you know, when our mind, when the noise of our mind starts to quiet down, our body starts to get more relaxed, and then our senses start to open, and nature is there as a mirror, as a teacher. And it just feels like the beauty of being in a place that you can hold and take care of, so that people just can come and get nourished, you know, at all levels, like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's the first time I really experienced this, the importance of being in a place. You know, we used to do our retreats in different places. So each time we would offer a retreat or a workshop, we would look for a location and we offer, and when, you know, we go back home. And it just feels so different to be rooted, centered in a place, and take care of that, and know that the place is what really holds people, you know. So there's something about being held by something much bigger than us, and, you know, we are just the guardians, let's say, of the place. Somehow we just open the door and people come and get into the forest, and this is where things happen. So, yeah.
But it sounds your own deepening of that connection and really getting rooted and having your own place and literally, you know, creating the garden and sort of, and then, you know, creating the space for people. That's really beautiful. And have you been able to, you know, like, I know, to go back to the corporate world with these offerings?
It's actually something we're opening now. So I do that through coaching, individual coaching. But also, like, we have this project which is called Zen Project, which is actually offering, you know, provide different types of offerings for organizations, for leaders and their teams. So I still, you know, keep that bridge because I feel it's important. The corporate organizations still need to change a lot, and, you know, to bring more humanity into the business world. So Zen Project is like our offering for organizations, and it's around consultancy and coaching, around well-being, around mindfulness, offering rites of passage for leaders in nature, leaders who want to mark important transitions or get more connected to meaning and purpose in their leadership roles. So yeah, a sustainability workshop for teams. So this is something we're opening up, and we want to continue offering that as well for organizations, because it really feels important.
Yeah, and then the systemic change, because of from the individual to the collective. What have you noticed about the conversations, like in terms of people's openness to this? And
in the corporate world, where I feel sometimes the door is more difficult to open, I know that when I was talking about doing retreats in nature, it felt like, wow, that's a lot, so it felt like a second or third step. But there are new things that start to come in the business world, like mindfulness, for example. When we talk about learning how to manage our energy, in business vocabulary, like how do you become more focused, more concentrated? How do you manage your mental energy? Or, and that through mindfulness, I could feel that there was a true opening when at least people want to, explore, experiment. And then once they experiment, they see the benefits, then they get more open to go deeper, like to open more, to have a, the space of trust, of allowing themselves to be vulnerable, to be more authentic. And then from there, you can bring people in nature. But I could really feel it was like a step-by-step approach. And like a relationship of trust that needs to happen, before you can really do soul work, let's say, with business leaders. Yeah, so it's
But what do you think needs to really change to sort of accelerate that? Do you see sort of like a consciousness sort of rising around that?
Yeah, I think it feels like now there is more awareness around the fact that in business, the organizations that can really be impactful and sustainable in the long run are the ones that really put human beings at the center. So more and more organizations start to understand that human potential is really a foundation of engagement and of performance. And understanding that, we can't achieve and have high performances if our people are not feeling good at their workplace, if they are not engaged, if they are exhausted, And so there is really a trend of organizations becoming more human-centered. And it's just a progressive step-by-step change. But I feel there is more and more awareness also in the business world.
In organizations, we're seen as machines, as we've seen the nature as a machine, whereas actually that sort of whole being and wholeness of both that and that interrelationship that we're part of nature, and there's the wider nature, and that sort of synergy or reconciliation or integration is where the real conversation, I think, needs to be.
Yeah. And it starts to come as well for some organizations, this sustainability journey, and also, not just putting people and society, but also planet as part of, the bigger picture. But I still feel there's a lot to do in that, about organizations really becoming or having a business strategy that really takes into consideration the planet and the sustainability of life. I still feel there's a long journey, but it's happening. It starts to happen, and more organizations are open to it. So it's a journey.
It is, isn't it? I mean, yeah, for sure. And for you, in terms of your own relationship and deepening of that with Xavier, like there's a lovely of a love relationship, but also love of land and mission together. I think that's part of the beautiful togetherness.
I think it's a real gift to be able to to offer these things together, because somehow you feel so there is each of us, there's the two of us, but then together we serve something bigger. So it really creates a very beautiful connection at a deeper level. And obviously relations have cycles, have ups and downs, but then when there is something really a higher purpose, you know, that you serve together, it really yeah, it just connects you at a different level. And it feels like you're walking a path together towards something, you know, bigger. And yeah, it's a gift. I really feel it's beautiful, and we are very different, and in the same time, like that's the beauty of it, that we bring different things and we complement each other, and we grow together in this journey. Yeah.
And how is nature, you know, what have you noticed that nature mirrors back in terms of your relationship and
Hmm.
how you, yeah, how you become in terms of a conscious relationship together?
Hmm. Well, definitely cycles to me in nature, you know, are a great mirror. And like in a relationship, there is spring and, you know, this effervescent love, but there is also autumn. Sometimes leaves just, you know, leaves just drop, and then it's about continuously reinventing yourself and knowing, okay, when something, you know, maybe is not longer healthy and needs to just, you just need to let go of. Or so I like to see, to observe more and more the cycles of nature in our relationship, and accepting winter, accepting you know, sometimes, yeah, the compost of autumn, because you know that from that compost something new can emerge, you know, and trusting that, trusting maybe the more difficult times or the shadow times, because you know, if you're patient and you're stay with what is and you're in the deep listening, there's always an invitation to grow into something new. So I feel, yeah, maybe the cycles is what feels more inspiring as a mirror in our relationship. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. And in terms of advice, or what is the? I always say this in term, and you appeal to your consultancy and your coaching background of like in terms of tips for people that really want to connect with nature, or are feeling or going, you know, feeling the stirrings that I feel disconnected, or I'm in the corporate world and something's, you know, I want to stay in it, but I'm just sort of feeling a bit you know, or I want, or what is my purpose? I mean, they're big questions, but I don't know. What are some of the things that you notice you're, you know,
Mm,
you're offering?
yeah. I would say first thing, which seems to me like the beginning, the starting point, is to stop. You know, I mean, there is so much wisdom inside of us. Like we have the answers inside. It's just that we are too busy to really listen, you know. So I would say that probably the first step is to really stop and take time to just be in silence, to be in stillness, so that you can get to that place of real listening from within. So that would be like number one tip. Stop, stillness, silence, and listen. And then yeah, sometimes we have busy agendas, we don't have time, but it's incredible how even half of a day in nature or one day in nature can be such a huge shift, can bring so many meaningful insights and answers to really important questions. So I would say the second tip for me would be really to do medicine walks in nature. And you know, just go in nature, no distractions, no phone, no books to read, not like, just to be available, like make yourself available to nature, and then go with one intention. The power of intention is just huge. It's like you know, putting glasses on, and here is this question I have. Okay, I want to explore, I want to listen or deep dive into. I put my glasses with this intention, I go in nature, and I just observe what nature gives me back, because nature is such a mirror. Like, wow, it just, there's so much wisdom you can get just in going with one intention, and listening, observing, and you know, being receptive. So that's something that, at least for me, it works really, really well. And as I said, in half day or one day is amazing what you can really, you know, get in terms of insights and clarity. And answers.
Lovely.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then this is maybe a third thing that comes to mind, and this is more out of the box, but this kind of dialogue with nature, with non-human beings, you know, like, okay, I have this question and I just tried hard and my mind got me until here, but then I see I can't really go beyond. Just play again and allow yourself to get into dialogue with maybe a tree, and you see a tree and you say, hey, what do you think about this problem that I have? Or you look at the cloud and then, hey cloud, what do you think, you know? And just get into this dialogue with the invisible, with the non-human world, and you would be amazed, you'd be really amazed of what can come up, you know, of all the wisdom and insights that can come from that. So it seems a little bit like, oh, you know, we're not really used to it. We lost the knowledge of how to do that, but it is inside of us, because our ancestors were like so connected to the earth. It was part of their daily life. It was their language, you
Yeah.
know. So we have that in ourselves. It's just about calling that wisdom and, you know, that indigenous wisdom in us. And we know how to have conversations with nature. We know how to listen. It's just about
How
opening.
did you start doing it? Did you feel self-conscious as you started reconnecting in that way?
It's a progressive, it's a journey, right? So maybe at the beginning it can feel like strange. Oh, how do I talk to a tree, you know? But it's just about actually, you know, opening to different possibilities, just allowing yourself to, well, let me just try. Maybe at the beginning it can be like, oh, it seems strange, but you know, let's just play, let's just try and see what comes. And this is when we can really be surprised. And then obviously the more you do it, it's like a practice. Any practice is like, the more you do it, you know, the deeper it gets, and the easier, the more natural it gets, you know. So
Lovely,
yeah.
lovely wisdom. And tell us about just where you are, where they all are. So it's the third, they've been out for 3 days. So just, give us a little insight of what's in store.
Yeah, we're right now, it's a very special moment. We're holding space in Basecamp here for people who came to do a vision quest. And it's a French one, so people came from France and Belgium. And this is their 3rd day. So they are out there for 3 days and nights alone, fasting. And this is the 3rd day and night soon. And it's beautiful moment, because actually the 3rd night, we invite people to be in what we call the purpose circle, and to really die to their old life and be reborn to their new life. So they are going there to mark a really significant change. And this night, they are going to stay awake and sing and dance and really celebrate their life, and talk to the stars and to the forest, and reclaim, this is who I am, this is why I came here, this is why my life is really worth it, these are my people, this is my tribe, these are my gifts I want to offer to the world. And it's like a big celebration of your life, you know, before coming back from the mountain and going back to your new life. So it's like a very special night, and we are here holding base camp, thinking about them, praying for them, eating for them, and it's really precious. So I'm happy we do this conversation now, because it's a special moment.
I love it. And I feel goosebumps. I've got goosebumps as you talk, really, the sensations. And I'm praying for them too. So sacred. And when they come back, you welcome them back with the food. And then do you want to explain the process?
Yeah, when they come back, so obviously there is this beautiful breakfast that probably they have dreamt about during 3 days and nights. So it becomes real. And then we do what we call a story council. And this is such a beautiful part of the ceremony, because, you know, we do this experience for ourselves, but we do it also for our people, for the community. So in this tradition, and, you know, people who used to celebrate rites of passage, they went on the mountain, they had this initiatory time out there, they maybe ask for a vision, but then they come back with that vision, with all the story that happened, with all those messages. And their story is a gift for the community. So what happened is when people come back, people would gather around the fire, and the young ones and the elders, and everyone would gather there to receive this new person, to see them, to say, hey, I see you, I recognize you, I welcome you in our community, I offer you a new place. So you become a new person, you have a new place in our community. And here we are listening to your story, because your story is a gift for all the community. So story council is, wow, such a beautiful time of the ceremony. So actually, as a guides here, we can't wait to see, oh, what happened, what will come back. And it's really a precious time.
Beautiful. And a very precious offering as you listen deeply and then offer it back. And so they are really seen, and that reverberates through the valley. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely, lovely, Diana. Yeah. Oh, precious time.
Yeah.
So just before, is there anything else you want to leave with? Anything you want to say?
No, lots of gratitude really for you. I think really creating a space for sharing stories, for having those conversations feels like really something we need today in our times. And so I feel really honored and grateful to be here and to share just this story. And hopefully, we can inspire some people who are maybe in a transition, who maybe are in a world where it doesn't feel that it fits with their true calling, and just to say step by step, like it's possible. And hopefully it will help some people who on their own journey.
Absolutely. And this feeling of emptiness, to go to nature and then open to those experiences. And you've got beautiful offerings, so you're there waiting on that beautiful land to help people through that. So yeah, may they join you. Thank you so much. I really merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Well, on that note, we'll just take a pause and see you back for the next Earth Converse podcast. And go out in nature, enjoy it. That's the most important thing that these conversations are to inspire you to do, deepening your connection with yourself, each other.